You've probably heard that reincarnation is some exotic Eastern belief, right? Well, some early Christians thought they'd come back too, and not just metaphorically. Yes, there were Christians who believed that your soul might return again and again until you finally got it right. And one of the church's intellectual heavyweights? He was fully on board. Buckle up. This rabbit hole goes deep, weird, and got banned faster than you can say heresy. Origen of Alexandria, who lived in the 3rd century CE, was no backwater mystic skulking in caves. He was a scholar with a reputation that gleamed from Alexandria to Antioch. He taught that souls existed before our birth, pre-existent and divine at their spark, but that they fell into material bodies as punishment for arrogance or folly. That concept, borrowed from Platonic philosophy, held that souls could return to bodies and rise again after death. Gnostic sects found this comforting, seen as a way for the soul to master illusions of the flesh. Origen's contemporaries dubbed this idea the cycle of souls, and he wrote about it with scholarly gravity. It wasn't a casual musing, but a systematic answer to why the righteous suffer and the wicked prosper. Your soul is earning its stripes across lifetimes. Origen didn't stop there. He speculated that Christ's incarnation could be seen as the ultimate soul rebirth, God descending repeatedly into humanity to rescue fallen souls. Each gospel a new reincarnation. He even hinted that salvation was not a one-and-done affair, but a process unfolding across ages. Humble, earnest faith, gnosis, penance, and divine grace might not suffice in a single life. Maybe eternity provided more chances. In his sprawling theological system, reincarnation wasn't exotic, it was almost logical. Now, imagine the scene in the lecture halls and basilicas of Antioch. Modest stone benches, candlelit corners, young clerics raising eyebrows at Origen's talk of souls in motion. Whispers spread. So when Lazarus died, he popped into the next birth? One student muttered. Old eyebrows furrowed. Bishops squirmed. Traditionalists backpedaled faster than a cart mule hearing a wolf pack. The mainstream church had always taught resurrection. Bodies raised and souls judged once. End of story. But resurrection on repeat? That sounded dangerously unorthodox. Gnostic Christians, already weaving Christian motifs into esoteric systems, embraced the idea. The Valentinian school, in particular, made reincarnation central. They believed each soul descended into multiple bodies, each life a chapter in a cosmic schoolroom. The soul was a prisoner of matter until it remembered its divine origins, and gnosis was the key. If you got enlightened in your third life, great. If not, keep going. That hierarchical cosmos, pleroma, aeons, a material archon, fit the multi-life soul nicely. Flesh became a series of classrooms, and death, a semester break before repeating the year. Their critics called it soul recycling. Valentinian adepts called it cosmic justice. In turn, this doctrine influenced other sects, and it bled into communal practices, rituals of confession, micro-penances, and symbolic rebirth ceremonies designed to remind believers of their journey through lives. In Roman Syria, archaeologists have dug graves where epitaphs effectively say, "Rest easy, we'll try again." Churches built over older funerary sites sometimes bear inscriptions like, "May his soul find its next blossoming." A 3rd century tombstone with a carved lily even included a hopeful wish, "Until we meet in the next life." That suggests people genuinely expected another chance, not just metaphorically, but in flesh and bone. Meanwhile, ascetic hermits in the Egyptian desert, who saw worldly life as illusion, sometimes spoke in riddles. "I have lived many death turns and tasted dust more than once." This cryptic phrase, found in the sayings of the Desert Fathers, hints at souls recognizing cycles beyond simple bodily demise. Whether literal reincarnation or mystical metaphor is hard to pin, but the language echoes belief in multiple lives. These desert fathers, living austere lives of prayer, fasting, and solitude, saw existence as layered and mysterious. Life suffering was viewed not just as a trial, but as a sign of the soul's entanglement in cycles. The Eisenhower-level irony is that these men toasted dryness with tea brewed from desert shrubs, yet they believed in spiritual dewdrops across lifetimes. Naturally, this didn't go unchallenged. Bishops and theologians, Clement, Athanasius, Tertullian, warned against strange philosophies creeping into faith. They insisted there was only one incarnation of Christ, one resurrection of the righteous, and one eschaton judgment. But Origen's influence was deep. His textual commentaries and allegorical interpretations widely circulated. Some later church councils had to reckon with his ideas directly. By 553 CE, during the Second Council of Constantinople, considered the Fifth Ecumenical Council, church leaders compiled canonical condemnations, including a hefty list of Origenist errors. The decree anathematized the notion that souls pre-exist, that Christ's suffering affected souls before his birth, and that souls are purified loop by loop. That council didn't mince words. It labeled these ideas as heretical deviations from apostolic tradition. Still, banning doctrines doesn't erase memories. In the 12th century, the Cathars in southern France, widely labeled dualists, revived reincarnation, or what they called retransmigration. They taught that evil souls were trapped in material bodies, moving from Christian to Muslim, child to animal, until purified by asceticism and gnosis. Their very name, Cathar, means pure, and they believed purity was achieved across lifetimes. When a Cathar declared success, he or she underwent the consolamentum, an initiation sealing, and often refused medical treatment or marriage, convinced their soul would soon escape the flesh cycle. The harsh Albigensian crusade against them was partly framed as a war to stop witches teaching these cycles. Southern France's dusty roads still whisper of secret sermons in grotto chapels, of villagers burying forbidden tracts beneath olive trees. Even after the Cathars were crushed, rumors flared. A Dominican chronicler writing in 1249 recorded, "We are told that in hidden monasteries, men read from Origen's lost books. They murmur of souls cycling, and they shiver when no sun reaches their scriptorium windows." Whether that chronicler exaggerated or records real whispers is unclear, but clear whispers there were. In Poland and Moravia, medieval folk traditions occasionally implied that misfortune was due to past lives, an echo of the idea that fate isn't born in Bethlehem, but across many births. By the Renaissance, the Church had officially buried reincarnation. Canonically, the soul lived once, died once, and faced judgment. Yet students of Origen, like Petrus Pomponazzi in Padua, rediscovered his work, translating fragments and debating resurrection with Neoplatonists. Reincarnation debates reappeared in secret salons lit by torchlight, where thinkers said, "What if the soul returns until purified?" Often they balanced on the edge of heresy, using as-if disclaimers to dodge scrutiny. But their notebooks show the questions persisted. Are we here only once? Or is life a grand rehearsal? Then came the modern era. Orientalist scholars brought back Indian Upanishads translations in the late 18th century, declaring, this idea is Eastern. But historians soon pointed out that reincarnation had earlier Christian expressions: Origen, Gnostics, Cathars. It wasn't entirely Eastern. It had a European ghost lurking in church margins. That ghost now haunts modern Christians. Surveys show that approximately 25% of U.S. Christians say they believe in reincarnation, even though their churches likely reject it. Decades-old religious memory runs deep. People pick beliefs that resonate, regardless of official doctrine. So, did early Christians believe in reincarnation? Absolutely. Not universally, but in meaningful waves. Some communities embraced it earnestly, others sidelined or condemned it. It became a perennial fringe doctrine, sometimes philosophical, sometimes mystical, sometimes scandalous. And while the institutional church eventually banished it, the idea persisted in secret, resurfaced in heretical sects, and eventually integrated into folk belief. Here's why this matters. Religious truth is not monolithic. Doctrines evolve, mutate, disappear, or return. Bubble in the goose-fat-lit basilica, a cleric heard Origen, felt his soul stir, thought, maybe I was born once, twice, 7 times. And that fleeting thought shaped theology, scandalized bishops, and lit the fires of later inquisitors. A mere handful of theologians risked reputations to suggest we might live again. Countless tiny sparks defied the idea that life is a one-off. Crucially, they framed reincarnation, not as paganism, but as logical inference from scripture, reason, and philosophical tradition. Picture a monk in the 10th century, polishing bone relics and reciting liturgy, whose grandmother in a secret confession murmured her uncanny belief, "I think I once knew St. Paul in another life." This isn't fanciful, it's possible. And if that grandmother had Origen's commentaries tucked in her earnings bundle, she might have convinced her grandson to wonder if baptism washes away the dust of prior vessels. The official story lost that subplot, but the rumor line was passed through grimoires, folk tales, whispered confessions. In some, reincarnation in early Christianity was not exotic. It was eccentric. It was not mainstream, but it was taken seriously by some. Theologians, philosophers, Gnostics, mystics, folk believers. It waxed, it waned, it was condemned, but never died. So today, when someone says, Christians never believed in reincarnation, we can whisper, they used to, and they might again. Because ideas, like souls, don't always stay buried. The story of reincarnation in the Christian tradition is fittingly recursive, glimpsed, erased, glimpsed again, across centuries. And as with any medieval tapestry, the rich patterns are found not in the official seams, but in the frayed edges.